do it, Neil. This is it, man.
Let's do it. Yeah, last one.
Hair looks good, Jordan. Looking nice. Need that producer cap. Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. You know what time it is. Final Monday Night Football showdown of the weekend, closing out Super Wild Card weekend right here with little Dallas Cowboys, Tampa Bay Bucks. I'm Dave Loughran at Laffy_D on the Twitters. Happy to have you guys with us as always. Joined for the last time on a showdown slate by the showdown shaman himself, the Sherpa over here at PlayerQDFS on Twitter, Neil Orfield. What's going on, brother?
I'm excited for this, for one last football game, Monday Night Football game. I will be doing content for obviously the following weekends as well, but this is our last Monday Night Football game. I'm excited about it. Playoff football. Obviously not excited about the Vikings losing yesterday. Wasn't really unexpected. I put on, as I said on Twitter, I put on a brave face. I was pretending like I thought the Vikings were going to win. I never, like deep down, thought the Vikings were going to win a playoff game this year. They overperformed all year, so that was disappointing. But hey, you've got the Eagles to look forward to next week. Are you excited about that game?
I am. Yeah, I think it's either a close loss or the Eagles destroy them.
Yeah, agree.
Like that's how it kind of always feels in these divisional spots, right? Like Eagles come out flat, they end up losing. Hurts isn't back to the way he was, or they come out and they rout the Giants like they did earlier in the season. We'll see. Should be fun. Look, we've been very lucky from an entertainment perspective. The NFL's been lucky as well that these games, some might say they're scripted. I'm kidding. I don't actually believe that. But dude, how many good games have we had already? Cincinnati, Baltimore was fantastic. I know your Giants lost. Unfortunate for you, Vikings, but still a really good game. Since he could have lost that game. Like, dude, had it not been for that one play that would have been like, give the ball to Dobbins, you probably have a touchdown. Instead, it's a 98-yard return, fumble return the other way that turns it 24-17. Jags come back from 27-0. And the Dolphins and Skylar Thompson hung in there.
Yeah, the Dolphins. I mean, yep. All these backup quarterbacks actually played well. And then Brock Purdy came in, got the win. Was it just those three backup quarterbacks playing in round one? That's pretty nuts. And
yeah, well, it's very, very happy to have you with us, all of you guys. It's the last one. Of course, today's show presented by No House Advantage. We're going to have some fun breaking down everything here. We'll do the lineup build in the middle of the show. We switched that up last time because I'm thinking, good on me for realizing that in week 17 or whatever it was. Like, we probably should do a lineup build with 5 minutes left in a show and live before lock, but we've corrected our mistakes. We'll do it in the middle of the show and then we'll keep going. But more than anything, hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. We're already at 100 because Neil, as Neil always says, the people know how to find the thumbs up. They want to find the thumbs up because these are good people.
That's right. They absolutely know how to find that button. They have a lot of experience at this point finding the thumbs up on the screen. I have confidence that the number is just going to go up and up as more and more people have gained experience learning how to click that thumbs up.
Yeah, man. And we will. I will atone for my sins, Stunna. Yes. And for those of you who have yet to atone for your sins, who still stink of just utter, what's the word? Utter
ineptitude.
I don't know. Sin.
That's what you're going for here. Okay.
It's just, and contempt. You can wash yourselves clean by taking a single second, using that finger, hitting that thumbs up, and getting us to where we need to go. Subscribe to the channel as well. We're taking that march to 100,000 subs, and we'll get there eventually. Let's kick it off with one thing first before we get to all these positions. Heathens kickstart. You're damn right. What are you drinking, by the way?
I am drinking. Where did I put that? Oh shit, it's not in here. I'm not drinking anything.
All right. If you want to go, did you pour it already?
I did pour it.
And it's just gonna get nasty if you leave it out there.
It's not close enough. I'm drinking water. No, it'll be fine. I'll still drink. It's a left-hand milk stout nitro.
Okay, nice.
It's a delicious
an
beer
IPA guy.
Colorado.
I forgot. Yeah.
Well,
we're over 200 likes. I think it's time to kick this one off. First and foremost, Neil, before we get to the positions here, just talking strategy for a second. it's an interesting game because you have a close spread, like 2.5 points, 3 in some spots. But even if you're getting Tampa +3, it's juiced to like -120. So you're looking 2.5, 3 points, 45.5 point total. Like our lineup generator, we just released that new feature, which is sick, where you can adjust for projected game flow, like the way that you think the game flow is going to go. When it comes to a slate like this, where you have 2 backfield committees, right, between Pollard, Elliott, and then Fournette and Rachaad White. And then you have, like, on one side, a lot of different guys for Tampa that can turn out to be the #1 pass catcher, could even be Fournette. Do you take any specific approach to a game like this that's pretty unique when you get this matchup?
No, I don't know. I mean, we'll go through it over the course of the game. I don't know that I'm taking any. Sorry, I was thinking about my beer just so much right now. I kind of spaced out. No, I'm not taking any real unique. I think it's a playoff game, right? It's going to be a close playoff game. 2 good defenses. Trying to think if there's anything super unique that I'm doing on this slate. Not really. I'm actually. I guess one thing that I'm doing is I'm making the bet that these teams are going to throw to their veteran wide receivers a little bit more. The guys who, guys like Julio Jones, who's been, not all that involved in the offense. I could see him getting a little bit more involved in the playoffs. T.Y. Hilton, another example of that. Yeah, I can't think of anything else that I'm really doing that's all that unique.
All right, go get your beer. I've been doing this long enough. I can hold it down for 30 seconds.
Can?
I mean, you're not going across the street to the neighbor's house, right?
That is true.
Yeah, go ahead, get your beer. We'll be all right.
All right, I'll be right back.
All right. Turn the camera off. Neil, what are you doing? All right. I told him to get his beer, never mind. All right. Anyway, quarterback position. You got Tom Brady. Yeah, he just went dark. Quarterback, we should bring up Jordan for the producer cam. But at quarterback, you got Tom Brady, you got Dak Prescott. Prescott amazingly leads the league in interceptions right now. Leads the league. There he is. Why would you turn your camera off?
Don't you always turn the camera off? I don't want people to see what's behind me. I'm always lofty. I live in the biggest messy room in my house. It's like the rest of my house, very clean. This is my office. It's just a mess everywhere in my office. My biggest fear is that one day I'm gonna get up and my cords, I have all these cords attached to me. My computer is going to jerk and everybody's just going to see the mess that is my office. I will not show you. So chat.
Fair enough.
Don't even bother asking.
I thought you didn't want people gawking and whistling at you as they caught that full body shot.
Well, that's also true. You've seen that. You've seen my beautiful body. It's maybe too sexy for the show.
That actually broke the camera. You never turned it off. All right. We'll get to these super chats in a second. Let's start at quarterback, though. I want to kick it off with Dak. I was saying while you were gone with the camera off, just full radio silence, that 12 games he's thrown the most interceptions among anyone. Not in 12 games, but like he's played 12 and he's thrown the most picks. But at the same time, we've seen some of those interceptions. Gajeski mentioned it this morning. Some of those interceptions weren't really his fault, like tip ball interception, pick sixes. But going up against this Tampa Bay team, and let me point out, their defense is pretty healthy now for the first time all season. They also got some offensive line reinforcements that we'll get to. But how much do you like Dak today? And if you're stacking Dak up against, not stacked, but like stacked up against Tom Brady, do you have a clear preference there if you're, say, hand building a couple of lineups?
Yeah, so Tom Brady projects slightly better. If I were hand building a couple lineups, I think I'm going to Dak. Like, I think that I like the matchup better for Dak. Of course, I just realized I don't have my Showdown single games tool up right now. So that's going to factor in because I'm going to have to see what the actual ownership is on Dak at this point. Yeah, so we've got Dak at actually lower owned than Tom Brady. Man, we have positive leverage on both these guys. My inclination, if I were hand building, one lineup, first place I would go probably is to a Dak stack, just because I like the matchup better going up against the Tampa Bay defense. Dallas defense just so good. I have concerns about Brady there, but obviously great. They're actually very close. Just looking at our tools, they both have positive leverage. They both look great. They're both coming in at actually pretty similar ownership. But I think my lean would be to go to Dak. I think the tools actually would point you a little bit more towards Brady. I guess Dak is a little bit more expensive, so that makes sense. Dak is 10,400, Brady 10,000. It's close, but for me, I think it would be Dak that would be the first place I'd go. How about you?
Someone said you were drinking. The reason you turned your camera off is because you got no trousers on.
Well, I mean, that's what I said. I said when I get up, you see my body. Luffy knows.
I will say, if you guys could ever find it, I don't know if it's still out there. Adam lost a bet once, and the bet was to do the show naked. Now, I believe he still had pants on, right? I didn't ask for him to prove it, but he definitely did an entire show with no shirt.
I have not seen that one. That's
a long time ago. This was probably like 5 years ago, but it's out there somewhere. Dude, it's out there somewhere. Yeah. He was a man of his word, and he did it. So your boy shit my money. If we could find that, it would be gold.
Yeah.
I just, the one thing about this game is when you look at Tom Brady, and let me be very clear here, because we'll get to Fournette. I do think Fournette sees a good, this will be the dagger if I'm wrong. Like, this is the hill I'm dying on, that I think Fournette gets a heavy workload today. I do. And I think he'll be heavily involved in the passing game. I think he gets the majority of carries. He hasn't lost a fumble all season long. He protects the ball. It's not like Rachaad White has been more efficient on the ground than Fournette has. Of course, I expect both of them to get worked in. Not saying that. But I do think, like, I bet the over 35.5 rushing yards on Fournette. I think that's low. Matt and I were in agreement this morning. But still, at quarterback, you're talking about someone in Tom Brady that, has he had some ugly performances this year? Yes, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. He's had some really bad games this year from a fantasy perspective. But at the same time, this team throws the ball 67% of the time. Like, they throw at the highest clip in the league by a pretty wide margin. Chargers are at 65%. Tampa's at 67%. They're going to throw. So I don't think a lot of these spots are mutually exclusive where you go, hey, I really like Fournette, which means I should like Dak more. Not necessarily, because Tom Brady could target Fournette 8, 9, 10 times in this game, and Fournette ends up with 60 receiving yards and a touchdown. Although, oddly enough, the Cowboys have not allowed a single receiving touchdown to a running back this year. Only one to tight ends. 22 of their 23 passing touchdowns have been the wide receivers. But I do like Tom Brady quite a bit. That isn't to say I don't like Dak. I do. But I think Tom Brady's passing volume alone just always makes him someone on a showdown slate that if he rips the ball 45 times and ends up getting in, his biggest issue, Neil, hasn't been that he can't put passing yards together, because he has, or that he isn't throwing. It's that they've really struggled in the red zone this year.
Yeah, that's actually, so you make a really good point about Brady's volume. That probably more than offsets the efficiency against this. It's a tough matchup against Dallas. Probably the volume makes up for the matchup against Dallas. So you actually have me kind of second guessing myself. Like, it really is close between Brady and Dak. They're both obviously great quarterbacks. The matchup better for Dak, the volume better for Brady. Man, it is very close. And I don't know that you can put that much stock into the red zone issues. I think that it's a tough matchup anywhere on the field, but I'm not sure that I worry too much more about the red zone for Brady. Maybe I should. I don't know. But obviously a great spot for both quarterbacks. I can't really take a strong preference one way or the other. I will say Brady, never play Brady without pass catchers. I was mistaken earlier today. I said that I think Brady is getting about 2 yards per game on the ground. But that's because I had read that he had 29 rushes on the year. It's not 29 rushing yards, 29 rushes on the year for -1 yard. Yeah. So you're not playing Brady naked anywhere. My preference would be to play at least 2 pass catchers if you have him in the captain spot, at least 1 if he's in the flex. Dak, I'm playing the same way, but he's more viable. You could play Dak naked in the flex, not a captain, but in the flex, you could potentially play Dak naked. At captain, I'd still prefer multiple pass catchers, but you could get away with 1.
I'm with you. And look, I'm assuming you're still going to have plenty of Prescott Brady lineups.
Oh, absolutely.
How do you feel about, if you're talking captain, right? You can look at our tools here, our top showdown and single game plays tool, which is, I think, the most valuable tool you're going to find for showdown slates. I know you would agree for sure, because you've won a lot of money using that tool. But optimal captain, you have Brady at 11.6%, Dak at 10%. Brady has slight positive leverage in the captain spot, and Dak is just zeroed out. So no positive, negative leverage or anything. So they are pretty similar from just an overall captain spot perspective too, at least according to our tools.
Yeah, they are. And I mean, if I were making one lineup, I mean, it's a tough call. If you're making one lineup, I don't know that I'd play a quarterback first. If I'm making one lineup, I'd probably go somebody a little bit less chalky. I mean, they're not really overly owned, as you said, right around 11% for both of them. It's really hard for me to distinguish. Play whoever you want, and then make sure that you stack them well if you do play them. They're both great plays at captain or in the flex. And probably if I were making just one lineup, they'd probably both be in my lineup. They probably just wouldn't, obviously, you have to choose one of them to be captain. But my guess is that they would actually both make my lineup if I were going to just make one lineup.
Let's hit a couple super chats. We'll talk running backs as well. Make sure we get you guys all the information you need well before lock. That's the goal here. Okay. Viral Junkie. Thanks, man. He said favorite props for tonight. I like Leonard Fournette over rushing yards. It was 35.5. I don't think you're going to get it under 37, 38.5. Now you can look, but I still like that. And if you're looking for something that's a bit of a long shot, I like Chris Godwin anytime touchdown at plus 180. I'll tell you why too. And I threw this in our Odd Shopper Premium Insider Access in our Discord, which is free for the first week, by the way. If you wanted to jump in, links in the description. It should be at least. But how about this? Dallas has a good pass rush. And I'll give you my reasoning for this. I'm not just throwing random shit out there. They have a good pass rush. Brady hasn't been sacked a lot this year. He hasn't been pressured a ton, but that's because no quarterback gets the ball out quicker. Average time to throw in pocket. Shortest time to throw in the pocket of any qualified quarterback this season. Plus, Godwin, go-to guy in those situations. Get it out. Let him do the work after the catch. Godwin leads the team with 9 targets inside the 10. Dallas has allowed 23 passing touchdowns, 22 of them to wide receivers, and they are 32nd in the league, according to Football Outsiders, against wide receiver twos this season. So, yeah, lines up pretty nicely for Chris Godwin if you're looking to get some plus money action in there. But Leonard Fournette over rushing yards is my spot here. Neil, another one for you. Our boy Chaz Razman Porzingis, little Nico Pico, right, Jordan?
Nico Pico.
Yeah, there we go. Porters and stouts all the way. IPAs taste like pine sol.
I love them all, but this is
okay.
What do you call this? It's a milk stout. It's a milk stout. I do both, but I like IPAs as well.
Nice. Yeah, I drink Jack Daniels and Coors Light. James Magruder, and plenty of them. Best option for captain on a DK single entry. Okay, that's a helpful question for anybody watching the show. Who's your best captain for single entry tournaments today? Presumably not like massive single entry, because I don't think there's that many huge ones out there, at least tonight.
Okay. Sort of interested in Dalton Schultz. Just projecting him for 5.9% ownership, 6.6% chance of being optimal. He's 6,400. He's just been a target monster for Dak in recent weeks. I think that's maybe the first place I would go in a single entry. Just save some money with Dalton Schultz, because we got a lot of studs to pay up for on this slate. Schultz is just 6,400. Certainly interesting. You could also consider Cade Otton. I guess I like these tight ends. Cade Otton, wow. Cade Otton, 2.3% projected ownership, 3.8% chance of being optimal. I was just gonna phrasing myself there. Cade Otton, Dalton Schultz both look great.
All right. Want to talk some running backs here?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. So 2 committees, 2 teams that have 2 good running backs. I'm not saying Fournette is the man, like he's not who he once was, but we've seen playoff Lenny pop his head up a couple of times in the past. And he's still, let's think about this, right? He did not have the season that we were anticipating from him. I don't think anyone would argue that. But it wasn't more than a couple weeks ago against Arizona where he had 30 total looks. He had 20 carries and 10 targets in that game. What do you have, like 180 total yards? That game is still there, Neil. There's no doubt. And I'm not saying White can't have a nice game, but I do think, like, if you get the volume from Fournette, who Todd Bowles played only 3 snaps in week 18, only 3 snaps in that game, so we're going to rest this guy. If I am right, and I might not be, you can tweet me, tell me I'm an asshole, I'm an idiot, that's fine. But if I am right that Fournette gets a lot of work, he's too cheap if he does get the work that he's seen in the playoffs before.
It's funny. You said that one of prop that you love is the Leonard Fournette over on rushing yards. And I did a Noah's Advantage show earlier today, and one of the props I recommended was under, but that's because the under prop Noah's Advantage was 49.5 rushing yards at the time.
Big difference.
Yeah, there's a huge difference there. Leonard Fournette, certainly not efficient. I was actually surprised to see that, as you said, Rachaad White, not much more efficient. Leonard Fournette running for 3.5 yards per carry this year. Rachaad White just at 3.7. So really not much of a difference there. Yeah, it's really hard for me to gauge, how much they're going to be relying on Fournette here. Obviously, they've played several must-win games in a row, and he's been fairly involved against Arizona in a really big game. He had 20 carries, so I guess that shows you they have some faith in Leonard Fournette. 20 carries and 10 targets 2 games ago.
Yeah, against
Leonard
Arizona.
Fournette. Yeah, which was pretty shocking because it's surrounded by games with 4, 10, and 10 carries. He did have 7, 4, and 4 targets in those games as well. So
yeah, and like the San Fran game is a throwaway. They were down 100 in the first quarter.
Right. That's a good point. But I mean, do you not? What do you think the workload is going to be split between Leonard Fournette and Rachaad White? Because in my mind, it's like 55-45, maybe 60-40 Fournette's favor.
I think you could see 65-35. Honestly, I'm not projecting that. What's that?
You think he gets like a veteran bump? Like maybe they rely on their veteran a little bit more. He's obviously been with them. Yeah. Yeah,
because it's not like, okay, it's not like White has been wildly more efficient.
No.
White's average. They're both averaging less than 4 yards per carry. Like White had 11 total looks in that Arizona game. Fournette had 30. White against Carolina had 16. Fournette had 14. Against Cincinnati, he had 13 to Fournette's. And I have a point here to Fournette's 14. But like the games with the big discrepancy that we saw against Arizona were lopsided in Fournette's favor. So maybe it is 50-50. But I think if it does get lopsided, unless Fournette's just, horrible and White's crushing, I think the lopsided nature of that would lean in favor of Fournette if it goes that way. And on a one game slate, that's kind of the way I have personally that I'm playing it.
Yeah, I kind of like that. So the more I think about it, the more I think it does kind of feel like they rely on Leonard Fournette a little bit more when they really need to win the game. Like when they're really, they have a lot to play for. And obviously here in the playoffs, they've got a lot to play for. So I kind of like your logic here. I kind of like the thinking that maybe Leonard Fournette is on the field a little bit more in the playoffs. They clearly played Rachaad White more and more. That could also be because they want to save Lenny a little bit for the playoffs.
I think so.
They have been in a lot of must-win games too, so I don't know how much that factors in, but that could be a factor that they want to save Lenny for playoff Lenny. They want to save him for the playoffs. That would make sense. Yeah, I think Leonard Fournette certainly a great play, and the tools like him in the util more than in the captain spot. And the captain spot projected for 8% ownership, 6% chance to be an optimal. The util 30% ownership, 33% optimal. 7,200. The price is right for Leonard Fournette. Obviously, the matchup very tough against Dallas, but that's true of everybody on Tampa Bay. It's just a tough matchup all around against this Dallas defense. But 7,200. Yeah, the price is definitely right. Yeah, I like Leonard Fournette quite a bit.
How do you feel about playing lineups with Leonard Fournette and White in the same line? And I'm going to ask you the same thing against Dallas or with Dallas running backs too.
Yeah, so I love it with Tampa Bay just because Leonard Fournette 7,200, Rachaad White's 5,400. If we do get the split, that's like 60-40 Fournette's favor with their price tags. I think that could be enough for both these guys to pay off their price tags. Obviously, a touchdown would maybe a touchdown each would be what you need, but I think they could get it done on volume alone, just yardage, PPR points, etc. I think both these guys at these price tags could do well enough. So certainly, and it's something that the field, I wrote about this in my Showdown article, my evergreen one. People don't like to play two running backs from the same team. They like to take a stand. This is the guy. People like to say Leonard Fournette. This is the playoffs. They've been saving him for the playoffs. Just going to play Leonard Fournette, not playing Rachaad White, or the inverse. Rachaad White's been coming on. They're going to use him more in the playoffs. People like to take stands. People don't like to play both of them. I think there's a real chance that, both are true to some extent. Maybe Leonard Fournette plays 60%. Rachaad White plays 40%, and that's enough for both of them. So I actually like it quite a bit playing both running backs.
How do you feel about on the other side here where you've got Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard? We've definitely seen both of these guys get pretty equal workloads. Pollard clearly leads him in the passing game. There are both games where neither of them really see much work out of the backfield as receivers. But the weird thing here is that Pollard and Elliott are both, $800 and $600 respectively, or more expensive than Fournette respectively. And then way more expensive than Rachaad White, both of them. that isn't to say that both of these guys can't have big games. I think at the price points, it's unlikely that in the same lineup, they both get there against the Tampa defense that is getting healthier. But at the same time, I'm willing to defer to you here on how you approach this backfield.
I mean, it's really tough, right? They're Pollard's at 8,000, Zeke is at 7,800. They're so close in price. We actually have both of them. We have Pollard. Actually, no, we don't have positive leverage on Zeke. We have positive leverage on Pollard. Kind of surprised me a little bit, to be honest. So we have Pollard with 29% projected ownership, 31% chance to be an optimal. Actually, in the captain spot, we have negative leverage on Pollard, 8% ownership, 5.6% optimal. So a little bit actually negative leverage overall on Pollard, and then also negative on Zeke, 5.8%, 5.2% in the captain spot. So a little bit of negative leverage there, and then 24% essentially in the util. So neutral in the flex. Just looking at their game logs, honestly, it's really hard for me to differentiate between the two. Like Zeke is clearly gets more carries than Pollard every game. Like he just before, for some reason, that Washington game, he only had 8 carries. But prior to that, looking back to the last 10 games, he had anywhere basically between 13 and 22 carries in that span. And usually right in the middle there, 15 to 17 carries per game. He gets a few targets per game. Pollard, on the other hand, gets closer to, generally like 12 targets per game. It's pretty sporadic. He has in that span a 22 carry game, and then also a few like 7, 9, 10, 12, just not quite as much. But then obviously more involved in the passing game. He's also just more explosive. Like he can do more with these plays. You're never going to see Ezekiel Elliott score a 60-yard touchdown. Pollard, we've seen it several times, and he can do it through the air. He can do it on the ground. The much more explosive player. So he can do more with less. So it kind of makes sense that he has positive leverage and Zeke doesn't, I guess. It's tough. I was hoping that Zeke's ownership was going to come in a little bit lower than it is. We have Zeke at around 30% ownership overall. It kind of feels like people love Pollard so much and kind of write Zeke off a lot of the time, but the ownership looks about right on Zeke. Around 30% ownership for Zeke, around 37% ownership on Pollard. Feels about right. I'm not taking any kind of huge stands on these guys. And to answer your question about whether you can play them together, I still think you can, even with these price tags, 7,800, 8,000. The matchup is better for Dallas against Tampa Bay. I think that you can play both of them together.
Okay. We had a comment in chat. Can we address the Cowboys D and how they've, have not allowed a lot of production to running backs this year? Yeah, look, it's a 1-game slate, and it's not like Tampa's been all that much worse either. So when you consider like Dallas, what are they, 5th or 6th in run defense DVOA? Tampa's third. Yeah, Tampa's 13th, but that D line has seen a decent amount of injuries throughout the season. Dallas has allowed 9 touchdowns, Tampa 12. Dallas 4.4 yards per attempt, Tampa Bay 4.5. You can fact check me, but I think this is accurate. They're not that far off here, and also like Leonard Fournette and White are cheaper than Elliott and Pollard. So it kind of balances itself out. That's at least my opinion. And they haven't allowed, I know Dallas hasn't allowed a ton of pass catching production to opposing running backs, but when you're just looking at it from a perspective of, is Fournette still going to get targeted? Yeah, he absolutely is. Right. He's still going to get targets in a spot like this. And Tampa's allowed fewer receiving yards and the same amount of receptions to running backs this year. So it's pretty balanced out, Neil, when you think about it. And we don't have more than 2 teams to choose from.
Right, exactly. And these are, they're among the safer options. Like, these running backs are going to get some volume. They'll get some carries. They will have some targets. Like running backs, I would say, are a little bit safer. Obviously, wide receivers, I feel like, are a little bit more boom bust. You need to be able to get a target, catch the ball to score points. Running backs, you're going to be getting, 0.4 fantasy points at a time more frequently than wide receivers. So they're among the safer options. And honestly, the price tags on all of these guys look about right for what you expect. Leonard Fournette, 7,200, pretty cheap. Obviously a tough matchup. Rachaad White, 5,400, pretty cheap, tough matchup. And then kind of the opposite for the Dallas guys, a middling matchup, but they're priced a little bit higher. But they're all, I think the field is playing them about right.
I agree. Gordon says Dallas has only allowed 6 rushing touchdowns, 0 receiving touchdowns. Yeah, they've allowed 9, but 6 have been to running backs. But again, Tampa's allowed 7 to running backs. So that's like, if you're just fading the running back positions, in this game, I think that could get you in trouble. Maybe if you're playing one lineup, sure, but you're certainly going to be getting to running backs here. All right, Neil, let's build a lineup. Then we're going to get into the other skill positions. Going to get real interesting once we get to wide receivers. Before we do, though, Jordan, I assume we still have massive overlay on No House Advantage. That would be my guess. They do that intentionally, and they've been having really nice prize pools for a lot of these games. So if you haven't checked it out, link is in the description, link is in chat. They just upped their first match deposit bonus from $50 to $100. All of our tools that we built specifically for No House Advantage, specifically, right? The No House Advantage player prop projections, No House Advantage optimal lineup tool. Alex Baker, Awesemo himself, built those tools. They are free over at Stokastic. So you already have all of that stuff at your disposal. And it's simple too. There's no real learning curve here. All you're doing is building lineups without a salary cap, right? You're taking props. Okay. So it's the same you do anywhere else. And similar to a showdown slate like DraftKings or FanDuel, all you're doing is you're taking the ones you like the most. They go at the top, they get the most points. The ones you're least confident go at the bottom, they get the fewest points. And you're building lineups that way. It's a whole lot of fun. And an amazing way to make money and sustain a bankroll when you're getting into contests that don't even come close to filling, right? Like you could, like Neil, I could ask you, what would you rather have, this bonus or that? And you do get the first match deposit, like, but this bonus, that, would you rather have like this match? Would you rather have this, trickle bonus, whatever? Or would you rather have significant overlay every time you play a contest? I think I know what your answer would be. You
do know what my answer would be. I would take the overlay, and I'm actually going on No House Advantage right now. I see it's only 56% full. I'm going to try to build some lineups as we do
less than 30 minutes to go.
Yeah. It's 56% full with less than 30 minutes to go. There's going to be overlay.
What's first place today?
$10,000, $15 entry, 1,600 total places or potential lineups in there, and currently at 900. So yeah, plenty of time to go into some lineups, and I will be doing a few.
You're not finding that overlay. You're not finding that at DraftKings or FanDuel. Nope. And if you do, FanDuel will just cancel your contest.
Right.
So, all right. Let's talk wide receivers. By the way, links in the description. Jordan, did you throw it in chat as well for me? Thank you, my man. All right. Super chat, favorite player under 10% owned in utility on DraftKings. There's another, I like when people ask questions that are helpful to everybody, Neil. So favorite utility option, favorite player under 10% owned in utility spot on DraftKings.
Was this an Eric Traub question? That's his usual question.
No, this was our boy Shard Razman Porzingis.
Oh, all right, Porzingis asking it.
Oh, is that him?
That's Eric Traub.
This is why Jordan's a good producer.
That's good to know. That's good to know. Yeah. So for me, it's going to be. Wait, I must have this. Oh, that's okay. Didn't have. I sort of.
For me, it's old T.Y. Hilton. Just throwing it out there.
I love that. So it is coming down to me between T.Y. Hilton or Julio Jones. I think Cameron Brate. There's an argument to be made for Cameron Brate as well. For me, it would be one of those three. I'll go. You're going with T.Y. Hilton, which I love that answer. I'm going to go with Julio Jones. I like these old vets that just might be more involved now that these games are meaningful. The team might, give them a little bit more run. So I'll go Julio Jones. You go T.Y. Hilton. I think they're both great options.
Awesome. And then, okay, Abel Ramos said, using both quarterbacks popular, or is it onslaught Dallas? No, I mean, if you're onslaughting Dallas, you can always do that because games can go sideways, and we've seen it a million different times. But I don't think onslaught Dallas is going to be the popular build today, Neil.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So, yeah. So I guess the question was, is using both quarterbacks popular? Well, yes. I mean, they're both 45% plus owned in utility. They're both, I mean, you would say that that's going to be a popular build, right? Both quarterbacks.
A lot of my lineups are going to have both quarterbacks. They both project extremely well. Tom Brady, I think they're actually the two highest projected players on the slate for Stokastic. So people using optimizers probably going to land on a lot of two quarterback builds. Yeah, I think it'll be fairly popular.
Guys, and I've told you this a million times, like, we're happy to take your super chat and answer your questions. But if you haven't done it yet, the 5 free days for NFL is still available. The link is down there in chat. Jordan can throw that in, or in the description. Jordan can throw that in chat too. All of our NFL tools for Showdown, for main slate, everything, and the lineup generator that we just added that awesome new feature where you can like set the build for how you project the game to go, like this score, whether you like it. If you think it's a blowout, Dallas, then it'll make, you can set that and it'll make Dallas onslaught lineups for you. Like if you think it's a super low scoring, tight, competitive game, it'll build lineups that way for you. And if you're playing even 10 lineups, you can run 10 different iterations of that and pull your favorite from the build. All that, 5 free days. There's no, if you hate it, we'll refund your misery. $0 right back to you where it started. Check it out. 5 free days. Anyway, let's talk about the lineup builder. Let's go ahead and build a lineup. I'll defer to you first for captain. We're going to build a Millie lineup here.
Let's go with Dalton Schultz at the captain. Somebody asked for it earlier, so might as well let's go with the answer that I gave earlier. Start there.
All right, we'll go Dalton Schultz. And Jordan, do me a favor. After we build this, when we go to wide receiver, pull the lineup generator up and just fuck with that a little bit on the show so people can see, see how that works. All right. All right, let's go Dalton Schultz, because some people might not know what I'm talking about. I'm just trying to help out around here. Dalton Schultz at captain. I'm going to throw Godwin in here. I like Godwin quite a bit tonight.
I do too. I like that call. Man, do I go Julio Jones before you have the opportunity to take T.Y. Hilton?
Sure.
That's part of the gamesmanship. Sure. No. Well, I'll go. I do think we should take one of them. So, do you want to go? So we've got. I took Dalton Schultz at captain. I think if we take T.Y. Hilton, that's probably our last Dallas pass catcher in the lineup. Whereas if I take Julio Jones, we could take one more. Let's go Kate Otten. You
want to go Otten? Okay.
Yep.
I like that. Yeah, there's plenty of spots we could have gone. Like Otten, I think is solid. He's not expensive at all. Yeah, I like Russell Gage as well. But so we have Godwin, Otten. I will throw Brady in here.
Okay.
I'll throw Brady. We still have plenty of room to work with. We captain Dalton Schultz.
I'm going to throw Dak Prescott in there as well.
Okay.
Still have 9,000 left over. So we didn't actually build because I took Kate out and we didn't build for the Julio Jones. I mean, we could and leave 6,000 on the table. Take your boy TY.
It's funny. Matt and I built a lineup this morning. I think if I go Fournette here, I believe it's the same lineup. And this would be, this would clearly be duped a lot, but
it's a 1,800 on the table.
Yeah. What's that?
It's leaving 1,800 on the table.
For sure. I still think though, there's no real crazy build there. Like we got both quarterbacks stacked with multiple pass catchers and then a pass catching running back. But this is just a thought experiment. This is just to see what we can come up with. When you guys have to know too, like when we're building lineups and we're going back and forth like this, usually you're not going to land on the optimal lineup, but it gives you an idea of where we're at, what we like. So yeah, I'll throw Fournette in there. I think that's a strong, like small field play as well. I think that's a strong small field lineup, especially with Schultz at captain.
Yeah, for sure. We got the Dak to Schultz connection. We've got Tom Brady with Godwin and Otten and Leonard Fournette. Yeah, I think it's a very solid lineup.
Okay. All right. So, all right, let's keep this one moving then and go with wide receivers. Let's get into the wide receiver position a little bit, CW. All right, so wide receiver, and yeah, Jordan, pull that up too. Pull the generator up just and play with, tweak that a little bit. You can put us both up on the side or whatever. Why? What are you laughing at? What are you laughing at? Why? How I referred to it the first time and how I refer to it this time? Yeah, my fault. Sometimes I forget I'm doing a show that I have to be somewhat professional. But we are doing a show. Hit that thumbs up. Neil, we're 170 away from 500. I think we make quick work of that. We're at almost 1,900 people watching.
I think the
live.
question is, can they do it before we hit 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern? We got 5 minutes. Can we get 170 likes in the next 5 minutes? That's a fun challenge.
Ben didn't think we could do it yesterday on the deeper dive. I think we needed 370 in about 5 minutes, and we crushed it. So okay, I'm going to say, yeah, I think
it's tough. Yeah.
I think it's doable. There's good people out there. They're willing to take a single second of their time and appease the YouTube overlords and make our lives a little bit easier. Let's just see that number shoot through the roof. Wide receivers. This is nice because we already talked about a lot of these guys, right? We both like Godwin. This is a good spot for Godwin for sure. Wide receiver 2s, like I said, for those of you that jumped in late, wide receiver 2s, Dallas DVOA metric dead last, 22 of their 23 touchdowns through the air have come against wide receivers. They can get pressure. Brady gets the ball out quick, goes to Godwin. He's great after the catch. There's just a lot of reasons. Now, that isn't to say that Mike Evans can't have one of those blow up games where Brady uncorks a couple and everything goes to shit if you're heavy on Godwin and underweight on Mike Evans, right? But I do lean Godwin a little bit over Evans, but I like both of them today. What I want to know from you is like, how many lineups do you see yourself going? Because we both like Godwin. I know we both like, or Evans is always in play. How many of these do you think you'll have the Brady, Godwin, Evans? Do you think you'll have a lot of that, or could you see yourself going more with like one of those guys and then the Ottens or the Gage or the Julio, or do you just stack 3 pass catchers, both of them, and then a cheaper one with Tom Brady? It's all possible.
Yeah, so I'm looking at my DraftKings lineups right now, and I'm actually surprised to see how many I have with both Godwin and Evans, with Brady in the captain spot, and then both Godwin and Evans, and typically, then another cheap wide receiver from the Bucs, because we do have, as I said, I like Julio Jones pretty cheap, Kate Otten fairly cheap, so we've got a lot of inexpensive options. I also have obviously lineups without both Godwin and Evans with Brady at captain, but makes a lot of sense to play both of them. Evans can just do it on just a few plays, and Godwin just gets so much volume. Brady peppers Godwin with targets. He has clearly the higher floor than Evans. He's, Godwin, a PPR monster, but he also has a high ceiling. He can score touchdowns. He can put up 100+ yards. So if I could only play one of them, it would be Chris Godwin. I think he's safer than Evans and likelier to hit a ceiling. But Evans, I mean, we just saw it last time out. The last time they played a full game, Evans put up 200 and some yards and 3 touchdowns or something insane like that. I don't know if it was their last game, but it was late in the season. Put up just a monster game. So we know Evans has that upside. He does it at least once or twice every season. But I think Godwin is much safer. So I like them both quite a bit. If I could only play one of them, it would be Godwin, just because the safety, he's both safer and has, I think, about the same upside, or at least close to the same upside as Evans. So if I can only play one, it'll be Godwin. But yeah, certainly both look like they are, solid options here.
I like Gage here as well. I mentioned the targets inside the 10 this year. Believe it or not, Russell Gage is tied with Godwin. They both have 9. Otten has 8. Evans has 7. Which makes it interesting because there's just so many ways once they get in the red zone, assuming they can be relatively efficient. There's so many ways that they can punch the ball in here. So I like Gage. I like Kate Otten. We're going to talk tight ends as well, right? Like we don't need to talk tight ends after this, but I think all of these guys are 100% viable in this spot. There's nobody I really hate here. You mentioned Otten earlier. The price point is nice. He's getting a boatload of snaps. He's on the field a ton. I don't know, man. I think, of course, it's a pick your poison, but we also have to, say what we like the most. But do you really have any quarrels with any of these guys? Because once you get past Gage, Godwin, Otten, and Evans, and I'm not including Fournette here, and a little bit of Julio Jones, maybe there's really nobody else that's probably going to even see the field tonight.
Yeah, there's a good chance that we don't see any Scotty Miller. He's the only other one that I would consider playing, like sprinkling him in a 150 set. But I don't even know if I have any Scotty Miller. I'm with you. I'm not confident that Scotty Miller sees the field at all. For me, it would be Godwin, Evans, Gage. I do like Julio Jones just because he's been playing around 25% of snaps already. And then I think that he has the upside to just see a little bit more volume, to just be a little bit more involved. Now that it's the playoffs, maybe they give him a little bit more run. So, and I should say, and he's getting 0 ownership. So that's the real reason that I like Julio. If you were getting 20% ownership, wouldn't have much interest, but we're projecting very little ownership for Julio Jones. He becomes interesting as well. So yeah, no qualms with any of those main guys. Cameron Brate, another guy that I was looking at, thinking I might play some Cameron Brate. I mean, clearly Kate Otten has kind of taken over the tight end role. I'm looking up. I think I looked this up earlier, but maybe I did not. Cameron Brate's actual routes run recently, because we got no Kyle Rudolph now. Cameron Brate clearly running as the tight end 2. Yeah, he played he ran 6 routes in week 16. Was he inactive week 17 or 18? I don't remember exactly, but
who was that?
Cameron Brate.
He may, I don't know. He only played 8 snaps and then 0. I'm not sure. We know that Otten's the guy regardless right now.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Otten is much safer than Cameron Brate. I think Cameron Brate is somebody that I might consider playing in a large field GPP, just because, again, he is the veteran. I think that he could have at least some run, but not all that confident. So yes, I would say Cameron Brate, Scotty Miller, not high confidence plays, but guys that I would consider in a large field GPP. But we named all of the primary guys. It's going to be Godwin, Evans, Gage. Julio Jones is my preferred flyer if you're taking a flyer on a low-owned pass catcher for the Bucs. And Cade Otton, another of the more sure things, who's only 1,800, one of the better values on the slate.
Yeah, unless you're looking at Keith. There's your guy.
Yeah, I don't think I'm doing it.
We don't have to. Also, I mentioned this on the Odd Shopper channel today when I was breaking this game down from a betting perspective. But this is, I mean, you couldn't have had better timing if you're Tampa, because Donovan Smith is healthy, albeit underwhelming season. Bowles even talked about potentially benching him earlier, but still strong left tackle, all things considered. Tristan Wirfs is healthy. And Ryan Jansen, he got hurt 2 days into training camp. He's back. They activated him. He's healthy and expected to play today. When you talk about getting your starting center back, that makes a big difference, not just on the ground, because I think it's going to help them quite a bit on the run game, assuming they decide to run, but in the passing game as well. So I don't want to overlook that. Brady, like I said, quickest time to throw in the league. He can get the ball out early, but if Dallas isn't getting pressure, that is how you beat them. Like if this team's not getting pressure and you can pick them apart, whether it's short passing game, whatever it is, and they're not getting to the quarterback, and now you have a healthy offensive line. Nick Leverett's out, but still, he's not the crux of this offense. He's not the guy that makes it go. That makes a big difference today.
Absolutely helps having your healthy offensive line, your better offensive lineman healthy. Yeah, I mean, it's still a really tough spot against this Dallas defense. But you know, the Bucs aren't getting sacked much anyway. I think they've given up the least sacks of any team in the entire league, and now they're healthier at offensive line. Certainly, it's going to help.
All right. How about on the other side? Of course, CeeDee Lamb is the guy, right? He's the top option here. Our tools clearly look at him and say, yeah, okay, top play percentage today. CeeDee Lamb's at 22%, which is crazy given that no one else is north of 14. How do you approach CeeDee Lamb and the secondary and tertiary options? We already talked about T.Y. Hilton being a perfectly reasonable look. He's played more snaps in each of the last 3 games that he's played. He's averaging at least 1 deep target on all of those games. So I think it's just a complete dart throw, even though he's not super cheap. T.Y. Hilton could get there. But CeeDee Lamb is the preeminent pass catcher in this offense, and it shows in the tools and in his numbers.
Yeah, I mean, CeeDee Lamb, pretty clearly the wide receiver 1 for Dallas. Looks great. The price tag is there to match his production. He's $10,600, the most expensive player on the slate, but still somehow looks pretty neutral in the tools. Despite the hefty price tag, he's just so good, so involved in the offense that he still looks good. We've got him projected for 13.6% captain ownership. He is the most owned by our projections, the most owned captain. A little bit of negative leverage, 13% chance to be an optimal, essentially neutral. And then in the util spot, 42% ownership, 42.4% chance to be an optimal. The ownership is about right on CeeDee Lamb. He's going to be highly owned. He should be highly owned. He is the best wide receiver in the best matchup for wide receivers on the slate. So it all makes sense. CeeDee Lamb getting the ownership that he should get. After CeeDee Lamb, for me, it's pretty clearly Michael Gallup ahead of Noah Brown. He's just more involved in the offense. He gets targeted more. He runs more routes. I'll take Michael Gallup number 2 at 5,000. Then it's Noah Brown, runs routes on, 76+%, I believe was the number that I found, like over his past 3 games, at least 76% of passing plays he's running routes. So Noah Brown's still very involved. I do still like Noah Brown as well. He would be my 3rd favorite of the Dallas receivers, I should say. And actually, we have some positive leverage on Noah Brown in the captain spot, 1.2% projected ownership, 1.8% chance to be an optimal. He's just 2,400. That actually, with the price tag, he becomes very interesting as a value option. Gallup, the number 2 in terms of opportunities that I would expect, but he is 5,000 to Noah Brown's 2,400. So when you factor in the price tag, Noah Brown, I like him pretty similar, to be honest. And then, as you said, T.Y. Hilton just not going to get a ton of ownership. He actually has negative leverage in the tools, but I think you and I are on the same page that, it's hard to really know what to expect from T.Y. Hilton or from the Cowboys, how much they're going to use T.Y. Hilton here. They might want to use him a little bit more. Like they just signed him 3 games ago, and he's already been very involved. He's not running a ton of routes, but he's had 9 targets over the past 2 games already. Like they're already using T.Y. Hilton, and that might be ramping up for the playoffs. And maybe they want to use him even more in the playoffs. And he's just 3,000 project for 7.1% ownership. So I'm not confident in, we only have him optimal 4.1% of the time, but that is, I believe, a fragile number just because nobody really knows what to expect with T.Y. Hilton. So I'm with you. I like T.Y. Hilton quite a bit as somebody who, doesn't take many plays to break it off. He could, even if he's only playing, running 25% of routes, he could do it in one play. He's got that kind of slate breaking ability, but he also could see the field a little bit more. So I like T.Y. Hilton. And then the other, we talked about how much we like Dalton Schultz. He is one of my preferred captains, projected for 6% ownership, 6.6% chance of being optimal, 27% in the util, 29% chance of being optimal. Looks great all around. Target monster. He's 6,400. So those are the primary pass catching options for the Cowboys for me.
Yeah, man. And Schultz leads the team in red zone targets with 16, and he's only played 15 games. Leads the team with 8 targets inside the 10, only played 15 games. Schultz has legitimate 2 touchdown upside here. There's no doubt about that. There's simply no doubt about that. So, he's a strong play at a mid-range price point. And we've seen Dak at times, especially, if there's just a lot of defensive attention on somebody like CeeDee Lamb, you could certainly see Dalton Schultz, with 9, 8, 9, 10 targets or something like that. It's not out of the realm of possibility whatsoever. So yeah, I think Schultz makes for a great play. Anything else on pass catchers here that we haven't hit on?
So Ferguson gets I don't understand it. So we haven't projected for nearly 2 fantasy points, which is usually in that range of like, I'm going to give him a boost and get him into some lineups. I might be missing something here, but he looks like somebody, based on that projection that you could consider playing. I'm trying to find him actually, Jake Ferguson. So 2.8%. Okay. We actually have negative leverage on him. So I feel better about not playing him. 2.8% projected ownership, 0.6% chance of being optimal in the util, 0.1% captain ownership, 0.2% chance of being optimal. So a little bit of positive leverage there, but I don't think that Jake Ferguson will be all that involved. I think that, they're just going to primarily use Dalton Schultz. Of course, we saw I think it was Thanksgiving. They scored touchdowns. All 3 of their tight ends scored touchdowns. I guess it's possible, but Jake Ferguson, I looked up his routes run. He's just not been all that involved recently. It's possible that I'm missing something, but yeah, week 18 ran 3 routes, week 17, 3 routes. I guess that is enough. He has been targeted once in each of the past 3 games. Maybe it's viable. Maybe you can count on, maybe you can hope for that one red zone look converting a touchdown, but I'm not playing him in my lineups, but I guess he's viable.
Chat, man. Chat is something else right now. Jordan, I saw what you were laughing at. That was pretty funny. All right. Kickers and defense to close this one out. Don't go yet because this is actually kind of an important spot. So we'll get through it quickly. I'll say real quick though, if you guys have 2 minutes of time and $10, use the link in the description for BetMGM or in chat. You're turning $10 into 2. All right. Sorry. You're turning $10 into 2 free months of Stokastic plus Platinum. Every tool we have for every single sport. I won't waste your time telling you how good of a deal it is because it's very obvious. You get access to our Discord. You get access to every tool that we have, including the new lineup generator for football and for basketball. If there's contests out there, any sport, we've got all the content tools that you need to take advantage of it, especially if you're someone that's just grinding your way, small stakes. Boom. Here's your way to say, all right, I don't have $240 for 2 months, but I want to check these tools out. All you need is $10. So if you're finishing your lineup, just open the link, put it on your browser or in your phone, come back to it, follow the steps. All you have to do is place a bet. It doesn't matter if it wins or loses. That's all you got to do. And even if it does lose, you have the bet insurance, meaning your first bet up to $1,000. If you lose it, it all comes back to you in bonus bets. So yeah, take advantage of that. Super simple way to get 2 free months. Join the community, join the family, win some money in doing so. Also, the legal age for gambling in most states is 21 or over. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Neil, kicker and defense. Let's get into this a little bit. Brett Maher has been pretty sick this year. How confident are you in playing maybe lineups with multiple kickers, with both kickers or both defenses? Like, is that a spot that you'll end up on today?
I haven't thought about whether I'm going to have multiple in the same lineup. Maybe let me just take a look. I'm going to look at my Brett Maher lineups. I have 0 with both Brett Maher and Ryan Suckup. I have 2 with both Brett Maher and Buccaneers defense. So take that for what it's worth. So I don't really know. You can mix and match them if it helps you. Make a nice lineup. They're obviously cost effective. It's viable to play 2 kickers or kickers with defenses. It's all viable, but not something that I really think about all that much. Whether I'm playing kickers with defenses. Kickers. It's all about opportunity for kickers. I don't really dive into kicker numbers when I'm making lineups. I just try to get somewhere around 15 to 25% generally. Brett Maher looks great. He projects the best of the kickers and the defenses. He actually has the best value of the kickers and defenses. And he looks great in the single game tool. 1.8% projected ownership in the captain spot, 3.3% chance to be an optimal. So actually one of the more positively leveraged in the captain spot is Brett Maher. And he's also positively leveraged in the util, 20% ownership, 22% chance to be an optimal. Looks great. One of the better value plays on the slate. Ryan Suckup, also some positive leverage in both spots, 1.2% captain ownership, 2.4% chance to be an optimal, 18% util ownership, 19.3% chance to be an optimal. Looks great as well. Of the defenses, my preference is going to be the Buccaneers, just because Tom Brady doesn't get sacked generally. He just gets the ball out too much. You're not getting sacks there. Tom Brady also doesn't throw many interceptions. Dak, on the other hand, has thrown 15? How many has he thrown? I wrote it numerical. 15 interceptions this year. He hasn't even played 15 games. Thrown more than 1 interception per game this year. So if I'm playing one, I'm saving some money and playing that Buccaneers defense instead of playing the Cowboys defense. How do you feel about it? Do you have strong takes on defenses or kickers here?
No, I mean, you don't see a ton of turnovers from the Tampa Bay side. They just stall out.
Yep.
But again, single game slate, no problem with either. I like Brett Maher a lot. I like kickers in this game for sure. Not to mention too that, and this is why I said this is kind of an important spot to touch on. If you're looking at Ryan Suckup, you're still talking about someone on a team that has throughout the season, and maybe they engage something and they just look as good as they did in that second half against Carolina, and all this goes out the window. But this is a team that has struggled and stalled in the red zone. So you could see, who knows? You could see a 3-4 field goal attempt game from Ryan Suckup as well. So I like it. A couple super chats here. Matt Riley, using his free super chat, 18-month, that link, not link. If you guys want to join, it's down there. Get the badges, the super chats, all that good stuff. Free super chats. Thanks for a great season of content. Yeah, Matt, thanks for being with us all season long, dude. And the Thunder, can you fade real quick on this, Neil? Can you fade both quarterbacks as quick as you can go here?
Absolutely. You can fade both. I'll have lineups that have none of the quarterbacks. We have plenty of studs in this game. We've got mid-range options with these running backs. And then we've also got Godwin, Evans, CeeDee Lamb. Like there's plenty of, you can certainly fade the quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are not picking up PPR points. You really need them to throw touchdowns to be optimal. So it's definitely viable.
All right. And last thing, we are 23 likes away from 500. Before you guys walk out the virtual door, give it a little thumbs up. Act 23, Neil. I can't leave this show.
We didn't get it done by 7, so that's a little bit disappointing that we didn't get it done by 7. But I still believe people can get it done by 7:15.
It's late. People have been drinking and smoking and stuff, and I would be if I wasn't on a show right now.
I'm doing it on a show. I'm drinking.
Yeah, you're sipping.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tip the bottle back when I.
No, my New Year's resolution, Laffy. Every alcoholic drink that I drink, I have to do a mile on the treadmill, or it could be can be off the treadmill if I am running outside. I can't walk outside. Wow. That doesn't count. So it's either I'm on the treadmill, I can walk on the treadmill, any mile on the treadmill counts, and I can get a drink. Otherwise, it has to be running if I'm outside.
That's awesome. Now, and by the way, guys, thank you. 530 likes. You're the best. Can I ask you a question about this?
Yeah.
Suppose I were to pour a drink, right? Yep. That was like just 4 shots of whiskey, but does that count as one drink? Or are you measuring it?
So that's a new thing. So I never measure my drinks. I'm a big bourbon drinker. Like that's part of my problem is I drink late at night. I drink a lot of bourbon, and you have seen my body. It's sexy, but it's also very large, and I am trying to lose some weight. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to drink less bourbon. So I've started measuring out my bourbon shots, and each shot is a drink.
Okay, so you're actually sticking to, because me.
But if I go out, if they pour me a stiff drink, that's one drink. Or if my wife makes me a drink, that's one drink.
Of course. So like if you ask for a double, right? Double bourbon on the rocks at a bar, and you know you're asking for a double,
then I'll forget that I said double.
Okay, that's all I want to know. Conveniently forget. I get it. I like that. That's solid, man. All right, it's a good resolution. You guys are the best. We appreciate you. Follow Neil at PlayerQ DFS, me at Loughran_D. Shout out to Jordan Klein. Long day of producing shows, but he's done. We're done. We're going to go watch some football and wrap up Super Wild Card Weekend. We'll see you guys back here. Start it all over again for the divisional round coming up and later this week. Peace.